Let's begin with a prayer from Vedas. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam Aviravirma edhi vedasya ma'anistha shrutam me ma prahasi anenadhite nahoratran sandadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaramavatu vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Always very nice to be amongst the devotees at Vedanta Society of New York, and just about the little bit about how this topic came up in my mind long ago, and I delivered a talk on this very same topic in Providence many years back. The topic came up to my mind while I was having this experience, and I was struggling, to make sense of it. When I came to this country, I heard this phrase more often than I used to hear in India, many more times, and this some alternatives of this, what I mean to say, or it is kind of, it is, and then I saw that with many it has become a habit, that even though they are not saying anything, they would say, what I mean, well, it is one professor that I met almost immediately after I came to this country, and a very good devotee, and he had the habit, so many have made a kind of parody of it, that, hey, that, you know what I mean? That fellow had come, he was talking to me the other day, what I mean? You know what I mean? So, okay, it is, or it is kind of, one child, in the children's camp that at Marshfield, I was monitoring that just after coming to this country, and so there was a worm lying dead, and one kid said, it's kind of dead. Well, just why don't you say dead? It is kind of dead. Why? So this and this kind of phraseology, this kind of speaking, always, making the short story long by adding what I mean, why don't you say just what you mean? It is. So, but then I saw the issue is really complex, that it is what we actually want is to communicate, to connect, and to have that somehow the feeling of oneness. That is the reason that we need to connect, that we somehow do not like that separateness. And so there is, this speech is a way to connect. It is very difficult, that it is, without any meaning to denigrate anybody, it was told, to one lady, would you go for 6 months in prison or observe one day silence? It is said that she chose to go to prison for 6 months, you see. So it is, because to remain silent is a very difficult thing. It is one can go really insane by just if that silence is strictly enforced, because the thoughts keep on getting, boiling. It becomes a boil, and if you have a lid covering it like a pressure cooker, and then if there is no wall to let it out, then the thing would just explode, you see. So it is when I said to one lady that, women talk more, statistically it is shown that they speak more than others, then I used only one sentence, and she gave me a lecture for 1 hour on that, that it is. So I said, did you not prove my point? So it is the thoughts, they want, the expression. We want to express, and somehow that expression takes us to connection and then becoming one. It is, I was talking to, and this was pretty recently, that even when we say we don't want to talk, one child was behaving a bit mischievously in our kids' camp. And then I said, if you do like this, I am not going to talk to you. And he looked at me and said, you just did. So it is. And very coolly, I was getting upset, but the little fellow taught me a lot, that it is. He said, you did just now, you spoke to me. So, this speaking, talking, and yet somewhere we are sure that we are not communicating all that we really want to communicate. There are many things that we want to express, but they are not getting expressed. Our understanding is somehow it gets converted into thought. But then again there is a process involved in that. So it is not everything in our understanding gets into our thought. And although I mentioned that words or language we use for communicating with others, it is also for internal communication, that we keep on, talking to our various limbs. Well, friends, I am not joking. It is in surgeries, you see, when a limb is cut off, and then another, that it is put together, joint is put together. It requires for that person to get acquainted with this new limb, how to communicate with it. The brain faces challenges. In fact, it is quite well-known phenomena in this, that a patient tells the nurse that, well, somebody's foot is in my bed, please take it away. That person's foot, but now since there is no communication happening, is not recognizing that it is his or her own foot. So looks like strange, foreign. I am having some sciatica pain. So what happens is, as such I am able to walk okay, but when I get up from bed, or if I am sitting for a long time on a chair and then I start walking, it seems that there is no, the communication is somewhere cut off. The foot is not going in the right place, and it is not listening to the commands, and all that happens. So there is an internal communication also, and there is an external communication. It is not external means as such there is nobody to talk to, but I have seen in many one person, I was staying at their home. And then while that person was, I went to the kitchen to have a glass of water, and I saw that person doing like this. So it is all, talking now whom there was nobody, but was talking to oneself. It is a monologue. It is quite common. Sometimes it gets an outer expression, sometimes doesn't. But then we keep on talking to ourselves a lot and using the unspoken words. We use words, but they are not loud enough to be heard outside. But we use words. And in some cases, it gets heard outside also. Like the person that I was referring to, that was as if, it was heard outside. It was heard outside. And so the words are used for that also. And there also, I am sure, while this internal talk is going on, means a monologue like this is going on, there also one must be uttering many times that what I mean to say. Because even inside we are not very clear and not as precise as we want to be. In fact, this craze to use exact, precise words without any confusion makes us into that infinite regression. It never stops because you see that it is not still precise enough. There are loopholes there. So if you see the legal agreements and all that, a simple thing that can be said in one sentence that goes on for pages, that Microsoft agreement that you have to sign, that release from this, that about 44 pages. Now who is going to read that? It is. And even if you read, you will get so confused that we will ask the question, what do you mean? So even after using so many sentences, so many words, the question still remains, what is meant? It is very difficult. In fact, a linguist and a computer scientist says that actually because we start looking for becoming more and more and more precise, and soon we see that it is going into infinite regression. We get confused, and that saves us. It is that confusion saves us, that let it be like this. It is. So that is an intriguing phenomena, friends, that what is this that makes us use this speech, and why we are sure that it is not precise. It is a human prerogative in a way amongst all the known animal kingdom that we use the language, the speech in this manner. One can see that very nicely written book by a cognitive psychologist. The title is The Language Instinct. It is those who want to study, it is a very nice book and very thought-provoking. Means one can certainly have very different opinions about it, but it is true, it is certainly a thought-provoking book, and certain experimental data that is revealed, and that is agreed upon by many others as well, that it is amongst these our immediate these uh, predecessors of human race, our ancestors, like the chimpanzees, orangutan, and all that, gorilla, they all have very similar neural structure like human beings. But they do not have the language as human beings have. Absolutely no manipulation of the sound to create the words and the complex language structure. You see, the words are not language, just as a brick is not a building. It is the words, they are to be connected in a very intricate way, and thus a sentence gets created to convey some meaning. It is a very complex process that goes on. So there is the world of thought. But again, if one observes that the thought also uses language at the obvious level, therefore the learning of language is very important even for thinking. Many have this, in my opinion, an erroneous idea that if you are just going to study physical sciences and such things, you do not need to study language. I completely differ from that because that stifles the thought process which is essential for the proper thinking in any branch of knowledge. And so, therefore, you can see that if you are not just think that I will think without using words, it goes nowhere. Because the thought and words, they are intricately connected. And so we see that the thinking process is also one level derived or one level grossified from our understanding. Our understanding, our perception is one level. But when it gets converted into thought, then it uses words. But there is a difference in using the words at the thought level. For example, right now I am thinking in English and then connecting that thinking to this sound system, my vocal cords and all that, and then you are hearing my thinking. So it is, somebody some time back said, well, you should keep all the notes, everything, so that your lecture will be a quite organized lecture. It is, otherwise it is all disorganized. I said, well, I really don't give lecture. I just meditate and connect it to vocal cords, that's all. So it is now it is being taught and spoken in English language. But there is a material that I can just convert into, say, another language that I know, say for example Hindi. If I have to speak in Hindi, the basic material would still remain the same, and yet the words will be Hindi words. Similarly, if I know some other languages, it would get converted into those languages as well. So the words, they are, you can use the proper words depending on to whom you are connecting with. It is said that a person came in a king's court and was speaking about 15, 16 languages very fluently. And he threw a challenge in the court that somebody can there recognize my original language, my mother tongue. And a minister said, okay, I will give it a try. So what he did was he was given very good place to sleep in, and his diet was added with some sleeping, whatever you may call, muscle relaxant, or so that they will sleep very nicely. And then the fellow slept. It was cold, and the minister made arrangement that in the wee hours, it's about 3 a.m. or so, a big jar of ice cold water is poured on his head. And then he started screaming, and then it was recorded what language he was screaming and yelling and using all those abusive words. And it was told that that's your language, because that is not consciously targeted to any audience. So it is like that when I am consciously targeting to some audience. Like many say to me that it is when you were speaking in Hindi. When I go to India, I never speak in English, avoid. Unless people press me that you have to, then I use English language. But normally I speak in Hindi or Marathi. So, and then they say, well, you do not use any English word while speaking Marathi. Because I just open another file, that's all. The same thought is put in another file. Like now I am speaking English language. Did you hear me using Hindi words? No, because I am using a different file. So it is connecting my thoughts to that file. So this is a basic material is there that does not actually use words. There is, for the lack of a better word, I will call it still thought. Although in Sanskrit, there is a very precise terminology for these things that I will come to. It is the thoughts are getting converted into language, then they become really thoughts. And then they are brought out depending on the person that I am speaking with. Not only the question of a particular English or Spanish or Swahili, whatever language, but to whom I am talking. I have a connection, a particular relation that I have with that person, or lack of it also. I don't have a particular relation, it's a stranger. But then there is the subconscious, the appearance, the general demeanor, the attitude of that person also prompts what words I will use to get my thoughts out to that person. Many times this process is consciously carried out, but some unconscious or subconscious element does enter in that. For example, you may not consciously do it, but suppose you are irritated for whatever other reason and under a lot of stress, Now you are communicating a simple fact, which actually, like today, we will easily say that it's a rainy day. And no conflicting situation would arise if we say that it is a rainy day, simple fact. But if there is the irritation inside, that will automatically get expressed. Unconscious to you are not intending to do that. And yet it will come out. It is, and that will reach that person. Your facial features speak. That is why it is called body language. There is the body language, which expresses more than the audible words. There is the body language. And then there is also the inner other things that do not make an appearance perceivable on the body, but yet they are there. Although it is difficult to segregate and show that, but they are there, and the listeners do get that dose also unconsciously. It is therefore told in our many these books. Scriptures is a different word, but it is some kind of this literature of psychological scriptures. There they say that if you are very angry, then don't cook for others. Because unconscious to you, your anger gets mixed with that, and those who eat that food will get that from you, although you did not intend to give it. But your intentions in many other respects also, that it is difficult to convert our intentions exactly into actions. So people say, don't judge me by my actions, judge me by my intentions. Now, how am I to know your intentions, my dear? It is your actions that alone are perceivable by me. So it is but the intentions enter into so many aspects and then cause the impact. So that is also a level of our thought process, which is deeper than the thought that is what we are aware of, that I am thinking like this, or when we say, let me think. So that is a thought, but there is a deeper level of thought where there is no language as such involved. But there is the substance to that language. It is much deeper level. And I will give you the example of it that you all are aware of. That is when you see dream. Do you see dream? I mean, now you may be seeing right now, some of you are seeing dream, I think so, it is. But do you see dream? And in dream, if you notice, you can speak to any creature. What language do you use? You don't know what language you use in dream. But you still communicate, isn't it? You still speak. Your body in the dream speaks to the body of a plant in the dream. And the plant replies that you can understand in dream. It is because at the level of dream, you are dissociated by this encumberment of brain and this body. It is a dissociation. You are now more free. The body is another equipment that you have been loaded with. And while you are tuned to it, you have to, everything gets filtered through this body and brain. But when you keep it aside, now, see, you are not your body now. It is very clear that when in your dream perceptions, you are not this body. This body may have, say, you ate a lot before going to bed, and this body is suffering from indigestion. It is. But the dream body might be quite, comfortable, agile, running about without any problem. So, it is not this body that is experiencing dream. So, it is, we say, in our Vedanta literature, that it is, you have as it were like taking off your heavy coat, then you are without it. So we take this very heavy coat called body. It can be taken out. It is, in dream you take it out and you hang it. When you wake up, you put it on again. It is because now that is, you need it. You are going out as it were. So you have to put on proper clothing. So you put on the body. So body is also something that one can put on and take out at will. Once you study that this is happening in dream, so you get the hint that it can be done. And then there is a process of being able to do it consciously. That, okay, just as you unbutton your coat, you can unbutton the body. It is, don't look at me as if I am talking something not in a person in senses. I am talking with full responsibility that it can be unbuttoned and put on the hanger. And then you use the unhindered capabilities of your state that is beyond body. It is very interesting that you can then see how many different capabilities you have. You know all the languages. The words, they do not have this problem of communicating as you mean what I want to say and all that. It doesn't require that. It is, you have reached a level that is called in our Vedantic literature the level of Madhyama. What we speak, whether a monologue, a soliloquy, or a dialogue within ourselves or with somebody else, that gets called Vaikhari. Something that is put into our regular language, that gets called Vaikhari. And there the languages, we don't understand everything. Even somebody from Alabama will not understand the language of our Rhode Island, although both claim that they are speaking English, you see. So it is. But there is no problem of communication in the Madhyama level. It happens more smoothly, very clearly. It is. So, at that level, you really have much more clarity. Still, it is not the clearest, because you still have this problem of having separation. Therefore, in the dream also, you have many unpleasant experiences in dream, and you cannot control your dreams. That is a difference between your dream and your daydream. We will talk about it at some other time. But in your dream, again, you cannot control anything in dream. It just as in the waking state, things happen. Like Diane told me, well, I am sorry we could not give you a good weather. But of course, for me, this weather is fine, It is, yeah. So, but we cannot control the weather. It is even the meteorologists, they can maybe to some extent predict, but they certainly cannot control. So, it is like that. At the level of dream also, we have no control. And we want control, we want power. That is one of the deepest core needs of ours. We want to be in control. We want to take charge of things. We do not want to be just dribbled around like a soccer ball by the circumstances. It is, the soccer ball has no freedom, It is as people just kick it around, it gets kicked. So we sometimes, when we observe our life, we feel that the circumstances are just kicking me around. Am I like a soccer ball? And we don't like that. So we thus want to see that where we can connect and thus get all this assimilated into that unique thing, wherein then I will be able to control. It is, we all experience this, that it is easier to control one thing than controlling many things. Controlling many is difficult. It is therefore when I have to bring things for travel, this. Now if I have to control them separately, that would be too unwieldy and it will not be impossible actually. So what I do, I put them in one bag. And then controlling the bag, that is one thing. Now, by controlling that one, I am able to control many things. It is many people, when I tell them that, okay, do this work, will you be able to do this? And some of them protest. That no, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And in addition, you are telling me to do this. Again, that involves so many things. No. And then I am used to that situation, so it is. So I tell that, look, you are increasing your problem by telling this. You can go on increasing. Like cooking is one thing you are doing, so say I am cooking. Then if you count the multiple things in that separately, then it becomes unwieldy. Difficult. Oh, I have to then chop the veggies. Then I have to do this. I have to ignite the gas. Then I have to get, put water in it. And then it becomes, innumerable things. And if you allocate separate time for each of them, the cooking will take a whole 24 hours. So it is, but put it together. Make it one. Make all the things one. And then we will see the complications and difficulties are reduced and you will be in control. Do you want to be in control or no? Well, everybody likes, that is one of the major inner desires that is expressed by that psychoanalyst who was Freud's student, Adler, that it is this drag for power. It is not the sexual libido according to him, but it is the desire for power, for control. That is primary, and even that is seen in the sexual drag too, that desire to control. So it is a desire to control. But we find that we, in regular, our life, the more we try to control, the more we get controlled. Because it is very mutual there. It is, for example, that it is, suppose you have a prison guard, and then that guard apparently is controlling the prisoners. But then the prisoners are also controlling the guard. That fellow cannot leave his or her position, He is controlled by the guard. The more minutely the guard wants to control, the guard gets controlled equally minutely. So therefore, how shall we attain the control? And then the language can become more cohesive. It will not be even the language at the dream level. It will be something deeper by having this everything very well organized and yet put in one. It is not just dumping things together and making it one. That it is different. Like you have, the garbage picking truck, all gets just thrown into it. It becomes one there. But all the variety is just lost, gone. It is all crushed together. This is not the oneness that is I am arriving at. It is, just to give you an analogy, an example, don't take it too exactly. It is like you do the compression of the data in computers, So it becomes smaller, compressed, but it does not lose any content or get mixed up with any other content. It is like in a small space. Now you may have the videos and speeches and songs that will go on for, say, 100 hours plus. Now all this is compressed, but its separateness is not lost. That is very different from, suppose you throw a coffee cup with a little coffee inside into a trash can, and then that trash is picked up by the truck, and then you go to the dump to get that particular coffee. It is impossible to get that. Even the thought is not worth entertaining. It is impossible. So the difference is here, that here it is compressed, and yet it is retaining its special separate characteristics that can be brought out. It is, it is, you can hear the exact song. Yes, I want to hear, when I come here, I remember John Lennon. So it is, I want to hear that particular song of John Lennon. You can just take it out instantaneously from that little thing and listen to it. So what I mean is, this is analogy. You compress it further, but systematically. It is, and that level is called pashyanti. Pashyanti means, in Sanskrit, that word means that it is visible but not separable. The characteristics are not separately seen. Unless you they are visible separately if you can develop a vision of that level, then it is available to you separately there as well. Otherwise, you have to connect it to this device like our body, our regular eyes, through these various interfaces, as it is called. But when it is getting converted into various interfaces, then something gets distorted, something gets lost by the very process of it. So it is therefore that level where, and we all can feel that level when even now, as I am speaking to you, unconsciously or consciously, I am accessing that stored, compressed information and then converting it into that in the manner that I can now pour it out before you. So these are the levels of transformation that are going on. So that level is a very deep level, friends, and we all have that level felt in deep sleep. In deep sleep, I don't know, many of you might have an experience that used to be my experience, not only in my school days, but even now as well at times, when, say, some intriguing problem of mathematics, and I was working on it, couldn't find a solution. I was getting more and more, burning issue, causing headache and all that. So I felt, oh, it's hopeless. And then slept. Then the early morning as I woke up, the solution was so clear to me, as if somebody had kept it all written down on paper for me. It was so clear. Now what happened? That deeper levels were accessed during that time. In deep sleep, we get to access those levels of our being. It is called Pashyanti. That it is sometimes in Vedanta gets identified with causal body. The dream experiences get identified with subtle body. And this, our waking state experience, that if you are awake, you can see that, it is, that is called the gross body. So, at that, the level is called Pashyanti. Now this variety gets merged further deep. And then sometimes it gets called, and that becomes a very confusing term by overuse. It is called Turiya, the fourth one. And I have not encountered more confused understanding about this word than about any other word. It is, people, I would say, have better understanding of autism or what is some other such things. It is, but when this word Turiya is used, it is so much of misunderstanding that goes with it. It is a state of deep transcendence. When you get out of this prison of these all three so-called bodies, and then everything gets absorbed in that. It is not really fourth. It is the state, the reality. But again, it is words, They don't go too far. It is therefore said that that is the best language to deliver this spiritual message. In Dakshinamurti Stotram, that is alluded to, that how that a beautiful verses there comes almost at the end of it, and that says that just imagine, draw a mental picture. Chitram means that picture that. Chitram vatataror mule vriddha shishya gurur yuva gurostu maunam vyakhyanam shishyastu chinna samshaya. That feel, imagine, draw a mental picture that there are so many highly experienced, Vriddha means those who have gone through a lot of experience, have analyzed those, and now for a solution have come to a teacher who is young. Again, it doesn't refer to the age as such, but the one who is having identified with the timeless reality. They're always young then. You identify with unchanging reality, then you are ever young. It is so identifying with that timeless reality. And they put their questions. But how the teacher is answering those? Gurostu maunam vyakhyanam. The Guru is imparting the message that does not have these spoken words. It is just direct transmitting, direct transmission. You see how there are these ways of direct transmission. It is more than words. It is, you can all relate to such things, that it is a language that is there, that conveys a message by just presence. See Sri Ramakrishna's presence, for example, a Buddha's presence. The message is given. And then you don't need to ask questions. I used to, think of so many questions to be asked to my Guru when I get a chance to meet. And I didn't want to just miss the answers, so I would write down the questions. But when I would be in his presence, I didn't have to even open my mouth. He wouldn't talk much. And the questions were all just answered even without being asked. It is that kind of presence, that is how one gets this communication. So that is how we see that our confusion goes on getting reduced. The deeper we go in our awareness, our communication also gets less and less confused, irrespective of what words we are using. And we also become more free, more joyous. So, do you know what I mean? Thank you. Happy Diwali.